So you know how like for like the past 40 episodes, every time I mute my mic, you can still hear me blow my nose?
Yes.
I think I may have fixed that.
Aha.
I don't know for sure. I don't want to make a promise, but I did something on my end that may have resolved it.
How
So I'm
can you,
gonna.
like, prove this?
Well, I can prove it by muting my mic and blowing my nose,
That's true. Okay.
which I'm going to do right now,
Okay.
even though I don't have to. All right, ready?
Yep.
And the verdict is,
I have some very grave news for you.
motherfucker.
I heard it loud and clear. It sounded
God.
like a trumpet in a distant ocean.
I have no idea why it's doing that. Like, I thought that perhaps, because I have a webcam too, that I thought perhaps that maybe Discord was defaulting to the webcam, but I like completely disconnected the webcam from my computer. The webcam is no longer connected.
It sounds like if somebody farted through like a walkie-talkie, but like the walkie-talkie was like somewhat out of range. So it was just like, you know. And you're like, yeah, we lost him.
That's not as bad as I anticipated.
We lost him. He was a good man.
Oh, goodness. Hey, everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 40 for the week of September 1st, 2019. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by Cat Wrangler Will.
What's up, man?
Have I ever called you the Cat Wrangler? I think I've reused the nickname now.
No, but it made me envision myself wearing like a tan-colored, like sort of like a short sleeve Steve Irwin kind of shirt, and then like having like a big net.
You know,
And I'm like rustling around and wrangling cats.
this is incredibly appropriate too because we were just talking about bad Australian accents.
Yes, and he was from Australia.
He was.
Yeah,
Rest
Outback
in peace.
Steakhouse. Whoever's doing that voiceover, fuck you, buddy. All right,
Oh, God. That's just so terrible.
you're a disgrace.
Well, how you doing, man? You like that pivot there? Or like, well,
Yeah, I do. I'm still thinking about shrimps flying through the air in slow motion. I'm doing well, man. I've got a great glass of red wine. It's Friday, beautiful summer evening, 3-day weekend for a lot of us. So if anybody is in the same boat, please enjoy it. I'm looking forward to Sunday, and overall, I'm really excited about this episode as well. We have a lot to go over.
what
about you?
man? You know, I'm about to crack open my second beer in like 2 sips. So that's great. I'm very happy that this long work week has been over, or is over. I don't know what the fuck happened. I think it might have something to do with everybody going back to school. Here in Connecticut, kids are starting to go back to school this week. And traffic to and from work has been worse than usual. I usually have like 1 or 2 days during the week where it's been bad, but like just this week specifically, even especially coming home, has just been like a dick punch.
Oh, no one likes dick punches.
So outside of that, though, man, I'm doing all right. I'm just really happy it's the weekend.
Yeah, I think
know?
everybody is, and you're right. Like back to school season is upon us. You go to your local Staples and there's just no supplies left. I actually experienced that recently because we had to buy like a 1-inch binder, and I was like, "Holy shit, I remember these days."
Yep, and there weren't any. You had to buy,
there weren't any.
You had to get like a 1.5-inch binder instead.
Yeah, and it was always like a fucking puke green color because that's the color that no one else wanted.
Did you get the Trapper Keeper?
I had one. I certainly did. I was lucky enough to, I think both of us obviously were lucky enough to go through all of the 90s stationary, exhibits of 5-star notebooks and Mead notebooks and Trapper Keepers and all that good stuff.
Did they ever have like an equivalent for boys of like Lisa Frank? Like, because
Jesus Christ.
I was super into like all those like fractal drawings and like outer space scenes and shit, and I still am. I mean, I haven't grown up much, but like I was just thinking about that. I'm like, wow, like all the girls were like crazy about Lisa Frank. And I remember, you know what? I do remember finding like these notebooks that had like these fucking dolphin scenes printed on them.
Yeah,
Do you remember
I think
those?
I do. Sadly, I do, but it's part of that era. You know, I missed that. I missed the 90s, but
I'm gonna look up dolphin notebook.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure there was an equivalent of Lisa Frank for males. As strange as that fucking sounds, I'm pretty sure there was, because a lot of that fractal stuff and like just weird geometric like designs that you would find on like folders and binders and stuff. I'm pretty sure that whatever company made that stuff would be, safe to say, the equivalent of Lisa Frank.
Yeah. I'm trying to find this goddamn. This is
Don't go too crazy.
I found it. Oh my god. Hold
All right,
on.
what is it?
Hold on.
Bob Frank?
Lassen? Something Lassen? I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send you this.
I almost spit this wine out, and that would have been really bad.
Christian Reese Lassen.
Oh my god.
Hold on. Oh, this is great. This is great podcasting. No Pinterest. I don't want to sign into your shitty app. I'm
Dude,
not.
Do you think this guy's on like some mega yacht right now in like the Maldives, just like sipping on like a margarita, and he's just like, "Fuck you, Lisa Frank."
Well, let me show you a picture of him, and I think that will erase all doubt. Hold on. Oh god, this is a YouTube interview. Hold on. This is great. Everybody that's listening to this, shut up.
Give us a minute.
I gotta get.
Give us a minute.
Look at this guy.
I'm just looking at this dolphin like exploding from this beautiful, tranquil ocean.
Yeah.
In like the French Riviera.
Go back to Discord for a second.
Okay. Thanks for being patient with us, folks. This is oh my god, why does he look so familiar?
Well, he was on the cover of every non-Lisa Frank notebook in the 90s, for starters.
Oh my god, look at his shirt, dude. His shirt is literally the water in that photo.
Oh, I wonder if he painted his own shirt.
It's like, dude, your shirt's an aquarium.
Oh my god.
This guy, oh my god, he strikes me as a guy who would eat like a lot of like.
You know what? I don't think this is him. Hold on. We have to go to a full stop here.
I feel like this might be somebody's uncle, dude.
Yeah, this isn't him.
In like a Hawaiian shirt.
This is him. The actual guy looks like he kind of looks feminine, but he's
he's a Fabio type.
He's a fucking surf bro.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that, because I envisioned this guy to be something of that nature. But what's cool about some of these guys is they're probably quite well off, and they're still relevant in like a small way.
Oh yeah.
And like, I mean, just look at this website, dude. The website looks like it was made in 1997.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't really fuck with it too much anymore.
Doesn't have to.
No, he probably doesn't.
I had like at least 5 of these notebooks.
All
right, so
yeah. I can't look at the picture of that dude's uncle anymore. It's going to distract me during the whole show. I can't do it. I got to close it out. I'm just going to go back to the photo of the whale exploding from the tranquil sea.
Oh my god, I'm going to have to share this with the chat on Tuesday when the show publishes.
Do you have any shirts that look like an aquarium? That's what he said when he bought that shirt. Do you guys have any shirts that look like an aquarium?
He probably went to like Bradley's or something.
I want my torso to look like a fish tank.
Oh god. Walking in the Caldor looking for a fish shirt.
That's enough, Drew.
I'm sorry. It's been a really long week. Thank you, everybody, for downloading the show. Please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review, especially if you are using Apple Podcasts, but you can leave a review anywhere you get your podcasts. We're also available in Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, any podcast app. Just do a search for us. Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. We're there. You can find us on the web at wdgrpodcast.libsyn.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. And Will, if somebody would like to follow you, how can they do so?
Will_gear.
And if you have any photos of fantastic dolphin notebooks, you can send them to me at ScionStorm. And don't forget, folks, we do have a Discord room, so swing on by, say hello, stop on by. Link will be in the show notes as well as on our social media. And why don't we take a little saunter over to the social media mailbag, specifically in Discord, because we threw out some bites on Facebook and Twitter, but nobody loves us there. So thanks to everybody in Discord. I'm like super salty today too. I'm full of salt water. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Okay,
Will.
Tony Soprano.
All right, so in the Discord room, we have a mailbag, and we want to know what you guys are playing this week, what you thought about the games, what you liked, what you didn't like, is it a must-play? And we got a lot of great responses, so let's just go right down the list, shall we?
Let's do it.
Regulus says, mostly mobile gaming now, Star Trek Timelines as usual, which is a game I am quite familiar with. One of these days I'm going to have to do like an extensive podcast on that and the whole pay-to-win formula that they got going on there, too. That's an interesting topic, but we could do a deep dive of that another night.
Fair.
Last spring, I bought Siege of Dragonspear on iOS to complete Baldur's Gate, so I started a new playthrough of Baldur's Gate EE. If you like the original, then EE is for you. I'm not sure what the EE stands for.
Yeah, I don't know.
What I like most about it is the added kits. I'm playing a Dwarven Defender this time, and that BG1 EE has been updated. Oh, Baldur's Gate 1. EE has been updated so you can seamlessly play your character from the beginning to the end. Add dual wielding and all the kits from Baldur's Gate 2 to Baldur's Gate 1. Biggest drawback is playing on my phone. It's really good on an iPad, but it gets a little small on my phone for me, mostly it's seeing some of the game. Definitely have to have my reading glasses on when playing it. Man, if that last couple sentences doesn't like really speak to me, man.
My reading glasses, yeah.
Well, I haven't gotten to that point quite yet, but I'm pretty sure the next time I get my eyes looked at, it's going to be bifocal time. Yeah, man, mobile gaming has come a long way, and there's some really fantastic games out there if you're willing to deal with the limitations of the platform. But Baldur's Gate is not a game I ever really thought of trying to play on mobile. And that's a game that I always wanted to get into. I never spent any time with it when it was really popular. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, for good things.
Yeah, it's a great game. People that love it, like, just absolutely love it. But I have no experience with it.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't have a lot to comment on that. All I can say is I agree with you. I think mobile games have come a long way. It's probably never going to be my forte, but it's cool to see that it's spreading in that sense, where mobile games have been around for a long time, but it's nice to see that they're taking off and the influence of video game culture is moving into that market because, everybody's on their fucking phones.
Yeah, and it's almost silly to think that maybe, a developer would completely skip a mobile platform, If they have an opportunity to try to get their game on iOS or Android, it makes sense that most devs would at least make an attempt to do so in some form or fashion.
Sure, and there's been quite a few games that have done that. Limbo, The Stillness of the Wind. I know that Gone Home, I want to say, might have hit mobile. A lot of those kinds of games are capable of running on iOS.
You just have to be willing to either buy a Bluetooth controller for them or deal with the controls on the system itself or on the phone. Yeah. Puxor says, I recently finished Roku's Island Express. It's a Metroidvania with jumping replaced by pinball mechanics. There are pinball boards all over the map, but so well integrated that you sometimes don't realize that you've walked into one until you're trying to get up onto a ledge. I love this mix of genres, and I feel that the challenge/reward of pinball is a welcome breath of fresh air in the genre I don't know. It says something about the genre of Metroidvania. I think there's a typo in there. Sorry, Pucks.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint is that it ended kind of suddenly. There is much more to do, but my moment-to-moment goals aren't drawing enough to keep me coming back. It's a must-play for Metroidvania addicts and probably fans of digital pinball. I wouldn't make it my intro to the genre, though. Yeah, I hadn't heard nothing on this game, and Puck started talking about it, I think, last week or maybe the week before, and it's got my interest. I'm curious. I believe it's available on Xbox Games Pass, so I might check it out there, but I'm a huge Metroidvania fan. I love the Castlevania games, especially like the ones that were on the Game Boy Advance and the DS, and I love Metroid, and I've always really enjoyed pinball, although I can't say I'm a pinball fanatic. So this is kind of a interesting mashup.
It certainly is. Pucks, strikes once again here with quite an intricate display and explanation of what he's playing. And unfortunately, I can never really relate that well because it's so out of my element. But I find it interesting to see what you're playing, Pucks, and it always prompts me to want to look up some of these games that you're playing. Like Roku's Island Express just makes me think of my 2 Roku TVs that we have in the house.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just about to note that it appears he made a typo there as well, and it should be Yoku's Island Express.
Oh, wow.
So Pucks is having all kinds of problems. I think he's traveling, so he must be using mobile.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Vortex has been playing. Oh, back with the mobile games here. I've been playing Gears Pop for the mobile game. It's actually a very well thought out versus tower defense type game. Really fun. Hate the microtransactions, obviously, but fun game. If you like tower defense, I'd highly recommend it. Sounds like it's up my alley.
Yep.
PUBG is now officially the only game I'm constantly playing on Xbox, and I'm waiting on Gears 5. You already know how I feel about those. I need that competitive rush that no other game provides me. Those two are going to be it for a long time, I think. Been struggling to find a game I like on the Switch. Cadence of Hyrule and Tetris I go back and forth with.
I gotta say, Vic is just an absolute legend in terms of somebody who is just sticks to his guns with games and trusts what he knows.
Yeah.
And is just committed with an enormous amount of willpower to like 1 to 2, maybe 3 games at most.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always been that way. And I always bring that up about him, but I can't help but not do it every time because you and I are like the exact opposite of Vic when it comes to gaming.
Yeah.
The exact opposite.
I'm looking at images of Gears Pop now. It kind of reminds me of Clash Royale, which is a very popular mobile game. And it kind of like you're on a battlefield with basically a mirror image of your playing field on the opposite side. You and your opponent are like directly opposing each other. One's at the bottom of the screen, one's at the top of the screen. And then you have different units that are of different value and a meter that's constantly recharging. And you have to like basically continue to send your units out there at the different cost on the meter and then destroy the other person's base. So there's an element of strategy there, but there's a lot of, at least on the Clash Royale side, there's strategy, but a lot of it is pay to win. Like, there's just some characters and some stuff is just unlockable only through like just massive amounts of cards. And yeah, there's ways to get these cards for free, but it is significantly longer amounts of time versus just swiping your credit card and getting it right away.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a whole thing. But yeah, this looks like Clash Royale. Now that I'm actually looking at it, this is Clash Royale with Gears of War. There's no difference.
All I know is I want to grow up and be like Vic.
Play 2 games for the rest of your life?
Well, not 2 games. However, I want his commitment and willpower to stick with such a small library of games because, like I said, he's always been that way. I can't do it. I get on like little strings of that where I'm like, all right, I'm sticking to this, and then I start straying because it's just the way my mind is, man. Like sometimes, and I'm going to explain later in the show, I just start thinking about like a game that I either have played before or a game that I've always wanted to play, and it just comes on the brain so strong that I can't shake it.
Right. I can relate to that. All right, let's get back to the mailbag. We'll circle back to that topic, though.
Yes.
Lost Monkey says, I'm playing Gears Pop. Just read Vortex comments. Thank you and have a good day. You, sir, suck.
Yeah, that's what I thought in my head when I read it. I was like, Vincey, come on, man.
Vincey took the cheap way out on that one.
He took the cheap way out.
Raffy Fatfingers says, I just started a way out with my partner. This is the game where you break out of a prison together. She doesn't play games, so this has been a great co-op game for us. Requires us both to do things and isn't too hard for a beginner. So it seems like a great way to get her used to a controller while being able to enjoy quality time together in a game with narrative. After we're done, we're thinking of diving into Portal 2. Less narrative and more puzzle, but hoping it will develop her skills so she can play more things without getting frustrated with the controls.
This is great. A Way Out, I've had my eyes on for a long time. It's made by the same dude. I believe his name is Joseph Fares. He directed and made and developed Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, which is in like my top 10 games of all time. And that game is similar in the sense where you can control two people at once, but with A Way Out, I believe it is more co-op based. And as far as Portal 2, that game is, I've never played it, but I've heard that it's legendary, and I heard it's like one of the best co-op games of all time.
It is a tremendous game in single player or co-op. What a fucking blast Portal 2 is.
It just looks so good, too. Like, even to this day, when you look back on it, just visually.
Valve's engines have aged extremely well.
Yes. Yes.
You know, if you fire up Half-Life 2, it still looks tremendous. And I think something in the way they built those engines was designed for the future. Like, they knew their games were going to need to scale, and they built them in a way where, 20 years from now, whatever the newest technology is, it'll be able to take advantage of that and still look absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, I've always appreciated Valve, and I love their logo too. The dude with the valve on the fucking on the back of his head or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Did you ever play Portal 1?
No, I am completely.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know about the whole like cake is a lie bit or whatever. I know
that's like so oversimplifying it.
I know, and it's because that's how little I know. But I do remember watching videos of people play Portal 2 co-op, like when the game was hot, like on YouTube, and I was entranced by it. It just looked so cool, just like so neat, like that's a really good way to explain that game. It's a very neat game.
It's incredibly well thought out in every possible way. There is not a single shortcut in that game. The music, the voice acting, the story, the humor is so smart and witty, and it's never taking like a cheap way out. And there's just so many layers to it. It is one of my favorite games of all time, and I don't know why I don't talk about it more. I think I kind of take it for granted.
Yeah, we'll have to bring it up like on a different episode. Dive into some Valve stuff.
That would be a game that I would highly recommend we play together. If not the Portal 2 for the co-op, but at least like Portal 1, like go through simultaneous gameplay of that, because you will love it. I have no doubt in my mind you're gonna dig that game, and if they have that in VR,
game over.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah. Especially like when you're getting launched from one portal through the air into another one, and you're trying to make those shots while you're like airborne. Oh man, it's unreal.
As I love to say, that game's getting bought.
Getting bought, son.
It's getting bought, guy. All right. So what does Joe Donuts have to say here?
Joe Donuts says, the last week or so I've been playing Remnant from the Ashes. All right. I know we're always talking about Pucks picking games that nobody's ever heard of, but Joe does the same thing.
Sometimes he does, but they're a little bit more easy to find. It's like Joe's displaying the books that are kind of hidden, and Pucks is breaking out books that like they keep in the back and shit.
I've heard of a lot of the games that Pucks references. I have never heard of a game that Joe's referenced.
I'm a little bit more on board with Joe's stuff because... Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry.
Pull yourself together, Drew.
I'm getting drunk here. The last week or so, I've been playing Remnant from the Ashes, which is a co-op third-person shooter inspired by Dark Souls. This is why I've never heard of it. I don't fucking play Dark Souls. Magic Gears of War, but instead of a cover system, you have a dodge roll, stamina meter, and RPG upgrades. So this has just turned into D&D. Most importantly, the game plays phenomenally, especially for a smaller release. This is one of those instances of a developer dreaming big but making really smart decisions about where to be ambitious and where to cut corners. So sure, you'll see repetitive environments, but you'll be having too much fun with friends to care. One big thing is that we ran into a lot of issues with the game crashing, but the dev team has been supporting the game aggressively. A new patch came out yesterday with a ton of fixes and balance tweaks. I'd rank this one as a must-play.
Mm.
Sounds neat.
Yeah. Well put together, Joe, as usual.
Yeah, I feel like I'm reading one of his reviews. RedRingCircus.com. Everybody, check it out. Seriously, though, great site for some great independent reviews on video games. I can't recommend it enough.
Yes. Remnant from the Ashes, I have heard of, and I think it's because of Joe, or I just kind of heard of it somehow, probably through Twitter or social media. But
or Joe.
Or Joe. But yeah, I'm intrigued. You know, anything that has anything to do with Dark Souls. I know Salt and Sanctuary kind of has a similar style as Dark Souls, from what I understand. I own that game, but I still haven't played it. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of something like that. I have not seen any video or screenshots or really anything on this game, but I'm intrigued. I'll definitely have to put it on the bucket list.
You know, just taking a small detour here, because I did a quick Google search on this game trying to see what I could find about it, and Kotaku has an article. And I like Kotaku. I read their articles. I think, for the most part, they're a pretty decent site. I know not everybody likes them, and that's okay.
Yep.
And this is the laziest fucking article I think I've ever read. They did Remnant from the Ashes as told by Steam reviews. And there's 2 paragraphs of narrative here, and then literally 20 to 25 screen captures of Steam reviews.
Okay. That's
fucking lazy.
I guess that's not as bad as like when people pronounce that website Kotaku.
Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I don't know.
No, you're saying it right.
Am I?
Kotaku is like fucking ridiculous. Like, no, granted, this is kind of like otaku kind of like pronunciation.
Yeah,
it's you want to channel that. You want to be like Kotaku. You know, you want to channel your inner Japanese man.
Oh god.
Or person, so we don't offend anybody. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying that sucks. That it's a lazily written article.
I'm gonna send this to you. This is how angry I am.
But I still think it's not as bad as people that say Kotaku.
Right next to Christian Reese Lawson's uncle.
With guns and without Dark Souls. Okay.
So it's a game with guns.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that later.
Yeah. Tell me what you think. When you get a chance, but
I certainly will.
Anyway, folks, thank you for everybody who contributed to the mailbag this week. We love hearing what you guys are playing. Don't forget, if you'd like to be a part of this discussion and all other kinds of video game stuff, hit us up on our Discord room. There is a link in the show notes. And come on by and say hi. Yeah. So, let's see here. What have you been playing, I guess? We have like all these games listed in our notes, and I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, we have a lot to go over, and in terms of what I've been playing, it actually hasn't been much this week. I've had a pretty busy week with work and some other things. However, I did fire up Octopath Traveler because that game has been calling my name for quite some time now. I have mentioned that on the show past couple episodes, and what a treat of a game. I've mentioned this game before again, and I've spoken about what the game's premise is and how much I love the music and the art style and the way that this game is very much like a sort of like an 8-bit, 16-bit kind of like weird mashup with like kind of newer graphics in the background. It's such a unique style and art that's been created with this game. And I really, really love that. And it was the main reason why I bought a Switch. Besides Bayonetta 2, this is like pretty much one of the biggest reasons why I got the Switch. It was a really hot game at the time. It still kind of is, but it's not as relevant as it was when it came out. And I launched it. I did not pick up from where I left off because that game is fairly story-based, and I just haven't played in it so long that I thought it would be worth just starting a fresh game. So that's what I did. I chose the same character. His name is Ulberic or something. And you get to choose from, I believe, 8 different characters from the jump. Okay. And each one has their own little backstory, and you choose the character that makes sense to you or, you know, sounds the most interesting.
Right.
And you start their journey, and you unfold a little bit about their backstory. And as you progress, you start to meet other characters, and those characters are the other 8 people. And what's really unique about it is you control them, and eventually you're controlling all 8 of them. As far as I know, like once you get later on in the game, you're controlling all 8. And I believe they like follow you around. Sometimes they stay in different places, but it's a very unique concept that I don't think has been done before. The only game that I can think of that did that was that one of those Zelda games. I think it was like The Legend of the Four Swords or something, where you had like multiple links following you around. I'm pretty sure that might be the only game to my knowledge that's done something kind of similar. Could be wrong, because I know there's a lot of RPGs where a lot of people follow you around, but just the way that this game is done, it really kind of reminds me of one of those Zelda games. I believe it is The Four Swords.
I'm not sure. I don't have the answer to that.
But yeah, just to kind of like wrap up my thoughts on Octopath, since I've spoken about it so much before. Go ahead, Drew. I feel like you were going to ask me something.
Yeah, I was kind of curious as like what the battle system is like in this game.
Sure. So it's pretty traditional battle system. Like you could be running through like a desert and you're going to get the whole FF7 like effect happening. You're going to go into a battle, and it's turn-based. I'm trying to think if there's anything else unique. I mean, they have some unique battle systems that are a little bit different. But for the most part, it's fairly standard from what I've played. And again, I haven't played a ton of this game. I think I've only played for about 5 hours total, and that's when I first started it.
Okay.
But the content that's there, man, is just, it's so good because it really brings a lot of old school RPG elements into something a little bit newer. And I think that's why this game was so popular, because there's not many games that come out that look like this, that look like an old school RPG, but have new aspects to it. And it was a huge selling point, and it just looks and plays so well. The only complaints that I've read is some of the stories are not that memorable, and they don't always connect that well, but apparently it wasn't a game breaker. And even though I knew that going in, I was like, I don't fucking care, man. This game is gorgeous. The soundtrack is literally off the charts. And that was enough. That was enough, man. I mean, I just wanted to get, like I've always said before, like a cozy RPG to play, and this is the epitome of that.
So
I couldn't recommend it enough.
Going to be curling up on the sofa or outside on the chair with the blanket and your Switch?
Sure. I mean, I just think that this game is something that you want to play at night. You want to play like when you go to bed, or like in a dark room and like your comfy chair with like a blanket over you. Like you want to play on the Switch as well. Like I've played off the Switch docked, and it's good, but I think really, that
you feel it's better handheld.
Yeah, it's a warm game, man. Like I know that might not make a lot of sense for some people, but for people that like those kind of RPGs that are like kind of almost like cutesy, it just makes sense to play on something smaller. You know, like if you were to play FF7, like the original version, I don't know. It would feel weird to play on like a big screen at like 3:00 in the afternoon. Like it's something you want to play at night, or like on a snowy day, and you're kind of bundled up inside. There's just something very fitting about those games in those kind of conditions.
I've been actually considering picking up the Final Fantasy VIII remaster when it comes out next month.
You have me intrigued about that.
It's just a visual remaster. I don't think they did anything with the gameplay on it. Just touched up the graphics and the FMVs and stuff. But that is a game that, like, I was a huge Final Fantasy VII fan when that came out, and then 8 came out, and it wasn't materia, it wasn't the same kind of battle system, I didn't like it, and I shelved it and never touched it again. And I feel like I gave the game a huge disservice, because I've loved other RPGs since. I was just so wrapped up in the world of 7 that I just wasn't ready to move on, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's the effect that 7 had. Without talking about that game too much, when that game came out and people fell in love with it, it created that effect where when the other ones came out, like 8, 9, and 10, and whatever, people had a hard time like diving in because they were still really so invested in 7, and for good reason.
I remember loving 9. I couldn't tell you a single thing about the story or the gameplay now, but I know I beat that game, and I adored every moment of it.
The music too was incredible.
It was, yeah. Couldn't hum it back to you. Don't remember any of it, but I mean that's another game that I'd like to circle back to and replay as well.
Yes.
Um, all right. Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad to hear you like diving back into RPGs again. That is such a man. I love RPGs, and I'm so like scared of them.
Yeah, they're scary, man. I mean, I think we all know that they're such a big time sink and they're a commitment. But I think with a game like Octopath, it's a little bit more casual.
Mm,
So it's something you can definitely pick up and play for, 30, 45 minutes before you go to sleep and just
yeah.
kind of keep that process going.
I've had such a desire to like fire up like an old RPG too. Maybe I should just buy Octopath because it's on my list. Like I want that game. I'm going to buy that game.
Yeah, you'll need to get it.
Maybe I should just do that and just scratch both itches at the same time rather than try to play an old RPG. And you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's just it, man, is to kind of wrap this portion up, like it fulfills that desire and that itch to play a old school RPG perfectly. And
Mm,
what a great way to do it on the Switch, which is obviously way more relevant than,
hmm.
popping in a PS1 game on your PS3. As much as you and I have the capabilities of doing that, a lot of people don't anymore, and that's where Octopath really comes in and kind of you know, scratches
Yeah,
that itch.
yeah, man, absolutely. Um,
What are you playing?
well, I mean, I got two games that I'm kind of casually playing right now. One of them I've talked about already, Serial Cleaner.
Hmm.
I've made a little bit more progress on that. I've gotten a couple levels beaten on that. That is, I've come to conclude, very much a bite-sized game. Um, you could pick it up and, you know, struggle enough with a level where it doesn't get beaten right away, but, it's challenging, but not impossible. And, you could pick up the game, spend 20 to 30 minutes trying to figure out this level, beat it, and then put the game down and not touch it again for another couple days. And then you pick it back up again, you move on to the next level, do the same thing, wash, rinse, repeat, put it back down. And I'm really I'm digging that. For a game that cost me $1.99, it's fucking great. So,
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
and each level becomes more and more uh, tasks that you have to do. You have to for example, like the first level, you just go find the body, you pick it up, you bring it back to your car, and then in the next level, you have to find not only the body, but you also have to find evidence. You pick that up, you bring it back to your car, you take off. The next level, they start introducing like a hiding mechanic where you can hide in a box, or you can hide in a closet, and the cops can't see you. And then the following level, they introduce a mechanic where you have to mop up blood. And you have to mop up a certain percentage of blood in the level. So you need to get like 60% of all the blood or 80% of all the blood. And some of these are in the direct paths of the cops or where they're walking around. And keep in mind, you have no weapons. This is not a game where you fight. You are constantly on the run. You are constantly hiding. If you get caught, you have to hide or you're done. So there's a lot of like back and forth kind of darting from point A to point B and kind of getting things, uh, done as quickly as possible. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really glad I decided to get it despite like the weird premise of it, because for $1.99 it's been worth every penny.
Yeah, and you've been really like striking gold lately with like a lot of Nintendo eShop demos and purchases and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, right?
Well, like I have the Octopath Traveler demo downloaded, for example. I haven't played it yet.
Hmm.
There's a demo for the new Dragon Quest game. Allegedly, it's 10 hours long. I have that downloaded. I haven't played it yet. Cadence of Hyrule demo. I haven't finished yet, but I do intend on buying that game. I actually just got a micro SD card in the mail today, so I'll have more room for more downloads
Uh-huh.
because I think I was at my max. I haven't started Bastion or Transistor yet. Those are probably going to be next. I think I may try to actually beat Serial Cleaner. I need to figure out how many levels there are, and if I can beat that game, I might move on to Bastion
Yeah,
next.
Bastion, oh man, there's so many games I want to play.
Yeah.
There's so many games I want to play, man. Bastion, without talking about that for too long, I just want to mention that that game is so great.
Mm.
I still haven't beat it, but just again, art style and what Supergiant Games is capable of doing is really something pretty remarkable.
Mm.
And that's putting
Well,
it lightly.
why don't we make a commitment to make that our next playthrough game? Because I have
Bastion?
it and you have it, and neither of
Sure.
us have beaten it.
I'd love to.
All right, it's done. It's decided. I don't know when we're going to finish it, but that's our next playthrough.
Okay, next week maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's well, I'm not going to say it's impossible. We'll see.
No, yeah, we'll see.
We'll talk about it. I've also been playing. I finally decided to buy that dance rhythm game, Super Beat Sonic.
Okay.
That was 89 cents. So,
gosh.
And I'm like, you know what? Vortex was talking about it, and Joe Donuts was talking about it, I believe. And both of them were like, oh yeah, for 89 cents it's pretty fun. So I downloaded the game, and I fired it up, and I watched the tutorial, and the tutorial was all right. I'm like, okay, this is great. And then the first first song that you have the option of playing when the game loads up is kind of like this slow melody. I'm like, yeah, this isn't really what I want. I want something a little bit faster. So I went to like the next step up.
Uh-huh.
And I shouldn't have done that because I played that level and I'm like, fuck this game. This is hot trash. The controls are weird. And I still think the controls are weird. But I went back and replayed it again. And I started with the slower song. And that was a much better speed for me to kind of get acclimated to everything. But what I don't like about the game is really just it boils down to the Switch itself. The way the game is set up, you have like this basically two parentheses, and the notes come down the middle of them, and the parentheses are kind of like this this zone where you're like supposed to hit the button to match up with the timing, right? It's kind of like a I don't know. You ever play Owendon?
No, but I've seen Damien play it, and that's certainly quite a sight to behold.
So you know how like when the circles come up, they have like a locking point. Where you're supposed to tap them, like it's kind of like that when these notes come up, or like Guitar Hero when they hit a certain line, that's when you're supposed to press them. That's that same kind of concept. The parentheses are that line, and if you're looking at the Switch, right, you have on the left hand side you have the analog stick, you have the top button, the bottom button, and the leftmost button on the blue side, or the left stick, the left controller, and on the right controller you have X, A, and B in the analog stick. And then you have the shoulder buttons, right? The thing is that X, A, and B are supposed to be mirrors of the left side, up, down, and left. Okay. And the analog sticks are mirrors of each other as well, too. And the shitty thing is like, you have these notes coming down at you, and on the left stick, the analog stick is above the buttons, and on the right stick, it's below the buttons. And it throws off the whole symmetrical feeling, like, completely. And for me, it's just like, it's a train wreck. Because I feel like this game was really designed for a PlayStation controller, where the analog sticks are both horizontally at the same plane as each other, not staggered like the Nintendo Switch or the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
So once I can kind of get past that, I think I can have a little bit more fun with this. But as of right now, it's a struggle.
That's a shame, but at the same time, like, I think Vic kind of pointed this out. Like a lot of these titles that you've been purchasing are so inexpensive, and sometimes what comes with an inexpensive game is also almost like an inexpensive experience, I guess you could say, right?
It's a good way to put it. And I'm finding myself struggling not to fall into the same trap that I've fallen in with Steam, where there's a sale, and oh yeah, I could get like 10 games for $5. And that's great, but how many of those games am I actually going to play? And, it's still like, even if it's only $5, it's $5 of clutter.
Yeah.
So there's a tricky balance to that, and I could see that being an issue. But that said, like the Nintendo's eShop, if they continue to have these sales, it's phenomenal. It's just a shame that all of them up to this point are really just indie titles. There's no like AAA titles that are like getting any kind of deep discounts. Like I'm not going to find a sale on Octopath.
No, I checked for you during the show, and I saw something for like 45, but
yeah,
that game's going to hold its value, I think, for a while, which I think is actually good. The fact that it hasn't dropped that much is probably saying something. And even the physical copy on Amazon is sold out, which is really weird.
Well, the one that you just linked me to appears to be for the Nintendo Switch edition or special edition of the game.
Yeah, it's just an obnoxious like version of it.
Yeah, for $237. They can go fuck themselves.
Right. You have to
But
be a massive fan to pay that much.
but if I go to like Best Buy, I'm pretty sure the game's available there.
Yeah, you could take a look.
Let's see here.
Speaking of buying games, I actually did purchase Astral Chain.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Haven't played it because I spent most of the time just downloading it in like the background, and I was doing other things. But I'm definitely going to fire that up tomorrow, 100%.
Cool.
And by the next episode, I'm definitely going to have a sort of first look, first take kind of review.
Yeah.
It's doubtful that I'll be able to beat that game over the weekend, but
I'm looking forward to hearing what you think.
Yeah, I couldn't resist, man. The reviews are just too good. I love Platinum Games. Everybody knows how I feel about that company. And I've had my eyes on the game for a long time. Pretty much since announcement, I've been looking at this game. So
you've been talking about that for a while.
I have. So yeah, got it on the Switch because I'm a digital guy now. Why get physical unless you're a big collector? That's just my consensus at this point.
That's fine.
And it's just easier. I didn't have to go to GameStop. I didn't have to go to Best Buy after work and deal with like traffic and shit. I was like, no, fuck this. I'm going home. Just gonna buy it that way.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm happy. Very excited to play it. I mean, it just looks like my name is written all over it. It's definitely a Will kind of game.
But is it cool?
It looks cool. It certainly looks like a cool game. So I'll be the judge of that once I fire that up, because apparently I'm like the judge of cool games now.
You know what? As we're doing this right now, I'm going to create an Astral Chain channel in the spoilers section of our Discord.
Sure, that's a great idea. And then Joe actually gifted me the Soul Calibur 5. Yeah, let me just double check here. The Soul Calibur 5 Future Press Guide in really good shape.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't even have the game. I am a Soul Calibur fan, but I'm not a huge fan. But he offered to gift me the guide essentially for free as long as I pay shipping. And I happily obliged because I love Future Press Guides. And yeah, it's in great shape. I'd be happy to add it to my collection. I've yet to kind of page through it, but that's what the weekend is for. And yeah, so it's been sitting here on my desk, so that's been a nice little addition.
I've been wanting to pick up Soul Calibur 5 for a little while now, and it's starting to hit that price point on a regular basis where I feel comfortable buying it.
Yeah, because the new one is 6, right?
And maybe I have my numbers wrong.
I think you do, bro, because I think
yeah, you're right.
5 was before the latest one.
I meant to say 6.
That's fair.
I'm blaming the beer. Yeah, I haven't played a Soul Calibur game since like 4.
Yeah, 4 was, oh my god, yeah, 4 was the one with like Darth Vader and Yoda and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. Look, man, I had Soul Calibur 4 on the PS3 like way back when. I think it was like 2010, dude, that game came out. And I gotta be honest, I liked it. I didn't play that much of it, but I thought Darth Vader's appearance was cool. I thought he was like a great addition. I never played the Xbox version, which obviously had Yoda.
He broke the game.
Yeah, from what I understand, he was like so cheap because he was so fast and he was so small that you just, it was really difficult. Like he just wasn't balanced at all.
No, he wasn't. You couldn't throw him.
Yeah, you couldn't do shit with that guy.
Like he was actually incapable of being thrown. It was a game-breaking character.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And then like the only other thing that I had before we move on to your review about a very special game, another game that's been kind of just on the brain has been Final Fantasy Tactics. I should probably stop drinking the wine myself, but plus it's late and I'm tired. But yeah, no, it's a game that I've been thinking about for a long time, and it just kind of comes and goes because I've never played it. I actually viewed the game being played many moons ago when it actually came out. So that would have been like, oh my God. I don't remember what year, 1997, 98, probably somewhere around there.
I want to say 95, but I think 97 might be right. Yeah,
and it just always looked like such a special game, and it's obviously very turn-based, very strategy-based, but the soundtrack is killer. I love the art. And it's supposed to be renowned as like one of the best RPGs like ever. So it's pretty much been priced at $10 on the PlayStation Store for like years.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to change. So I'm probably going to scoop that up soon, or I'll just wait for it to become like $5 because sometimes it does go down a little bit.
Yep.
If that's the case, yeah, I just might as well get the digital version. The physical is like 100 because it's a pretty valuable game.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, trust me, I already looked on Amazon.
Well, don't look on Amazon.
Okay.
You have to look on price charting because that's more accurate.
I know. That's what Regency Gaming uses.
Right, and there's a reason for that because Amazon's fucking ridiculous. I have at least one copy of it.
I'm surprised it wasn't ever bundled on like one of those PS1 like packages because I do have like the Final Fantasy anthology for PS1, and I've got like another Final Fantasy like bundle, I think, and it was just never included that way. Those
anthologies were games that weren't originally released on the PlayStation. So one of the anthologies is like Final Fantasy is like 4, 5, and 6. Another one is like Chrono Trigger, and like Final Fantasy is like 1, 2, and 3 or something. I don't remember the exact games, but those were supposed to be bundles of older games, not like a greatest hits collection for the PlayStation. So that's why you never saw that. But you can buy this used complete. Average price is $14.75. So
yeah, I just looked. I'm probably still just gonna get the digital version. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, for you, I would too. But stop going on Amazon for your games, please.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't because that is where I got most of my my stuff for like game day and game night and stuff. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I hear you. When it case like that, thing. What's that?
I said it's a convenience thing. Like I use Amazon for most of my online like purchases, so it's just a creature of habit, I guess.
Yeah. Final Fantasy Tactics, man. I've played, I think, every single one of those games, and I have not beaten any of them. They are so ridiculously long and so deep.
Yes, yes.
Like if you buy that game for $10, you will absolutely get your $10 worth, but you will never finish that game.
I probably won't. No.
And you know what? Like, I don't know that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like we've said before, it just goes right in the treasure chest, or it's just something I don't purchase right now, and I kind of fend off the desire to play it.
I'm surprised they haven't put this out on the Switch.
I am surprised, but my God, if that gets announced and it's like a remaster or some kind of touch-up, that game's getting bought, guy.
Yep. Well, I know. A lot of the Final Fantasy games are coming to the Switch, and some of them are probably already available. I think FF7's already available, but and 8's going to be available like next week, but not Tactics.
Yeah, it's one of those games that just a lot of times they just don't do anything with. It reminds me of Demon's Souls. That's a game that like I don't think will ever see the light of day in terms of like a remaster or anything. They turned off the servers not that long ago, and it's on PS3, and it's never been released for anything else. And in today's world, I think we're seeing so many re-releases now and remasters that like when you don't see one, it's like really shocking where you're like, wow, this game is literally just for PS3, and it still is.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic. Like, I'm kind of getting a little frustrated with the frequency of reissues and re-releases, things like that. It's just it's way too much.
It certainly is. It creates a sense of just constant buying. Like, if you have FF7 for PS1 and they re-release it with a small touch-up for PS4 like they did, you're tempted to buy it because you're like, well, it looks a little bit better though. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's like another $15 gone. You already have the fucking game like on a shelf somewhere, and it's like pretty much the same thing. So,
I mean, while we're on the topic real quick, I think a big part of the appeal is for people that didn't keep their copies.
That's fair.
So somebody like you or somebody else that maybe traded in all their PlayStation games to get the PS2 back in the day, maybe they miss playing Final Fantasy VII and they don't want to go through the hassle of trying to track down a PlayStation 1 or maybe they can't. Maybe they have a Switch and they have, young children, and buying a PS4 is just not in the cards. Whatever the situation is, we don't know. So the idea of re-releasing a game like that, I think, is very appealing to somebody who's in that situation. $15 to relive something from your childhood, it's probably worth it to them. But it's happening nonstop, and it's happening with every fucking game. And like, how many times do they need to re-release Resident Evil?
Oh my God, Resident Evil 4, we've mentioned how many times that game got fucking re-released.
Numerous. And I'm not meaning to single Resident Evil out, but it's a sign of a pattern. Shadow of the Colossus, how many reissues of that have there been?
I think there's a total of 2, so there's like 3 versions. You have the original, then you have the PS3 remaster, and then you also have the
PS4 remaster.
The PS4 remaster, yeah.
Are they going to put it on the PS5?
They might, and bottom line, it does get frustrating because now sometimes when I think about buying like an older game or just a game in general that might not be new, I always like research first to find out how many fucking platforms it's on.
Yeah.
And then I have to think, okay, which system do I buy it for and which version of this game am I buying?
Right.
So it creates the sense of purchase a little bit more complicated in some ways.
Yeah. And you have to do that legwork too.
You do?
Yeah. There's games that I want to buy on the Switch, but it's also on the Xbox and the PlayStation, and I need to try to determine which experience I would rather have.
Yeah, just finding an exclusive game at this point is sometimes actually quite challenging.
Mm-hmm. So, hooray, Astral Chain.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I beat Gris finally.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about this. This is a game that has been a long time coming for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess beating it finally isn't the right word, because I picked it up and I played it and I beat it in a fairly short turnaround time. But it's a game that's been on my radar since I think the first time you mentioned it, which was maybe a couple months before it was released.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad that I experienced it on the Switch. It's definitely a work of art, but it is not flawless.
No.
And I'm not even sure where to start. Like, I took all these notes, but I'm not sure like what I should start talking about.
Well, I mean, like, what was why don't we start with like a major takeaway first? Let's kind of reverse this a little bit.
My major takeaway is that I need like somebody to fucking hold my hand with these storylines and explain every little detail to me. You're
definitely like that about these kind of games.
And I'm noticing more and more that it's not just like a one-off; it's like a consistent issue.
Yeah, it is pretty consistent.
It's not the game; it's me, and that's okay. Like, I get that. Like, there's no dialogue, there's no written word or anything to explain what's going on in the story. You just have to kind of figure it out through the imagery and the sounds that are occurring with you. And I don't know. Like, I definitely have an issue with that. So that being said, after beating the game and trying to come up with content for my review, I did a little research on the game, and my understanding is that this game is about a girl who is dealing with loss, and in this case, most specifically, she's dealing with the loss of her voice, which apparently has some sort of magical powers, as we'll come to find out. But she also, like, does she lose her mother or her sister or something? Who is the rock creature that she loses?
Well, I don't know if it ever really reveals that. I mean, if you hearken back to the review that I did, I'm pretty sure that I had mentioned both of those things, that she loses her voice, and there's a certain button that you can actually hit that you can realize that she lost it. She'll kind of like try to sing and nothing comes out, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I believe it's her mom. That was my takeaway. That it was the mom.
And that singing mechanic does get realized later on in the game as you progress through and you become stronger. The beer's talking. As you become stronger and start to kind of like regain your strength and become more powerful. Like, even like when the game first begins, like, she's so weak that she can't even walk, or, like, she's struggling to take steps, and eventually she becomes strong enough to walk at a normal pace, and then she starts to be able to run and jump. And eventually you'll unlock the ability to jump higher, and then you'll unlock this ability to kind of like float a little bit in between your jumps and do like a triple jump, or double jump rather. You unlock this ability to like hit the ground and turn into a box, which is really kind of bizarre. And then you learn how to sing again. And when you unlock that ability, now you have the ability to kind of restore life around you, which is a very cool concept. And I think for the most part, it was executed fairly well because it led into these elements of the game that let you progress to the next part. But I wish that they took a little bit more time to give more variations to her voice. She sings when she does that move, she's actually singing, but you're cycling between two like audio clips. And I feel like a game like this, which has this gorgeous soundtrack and this beautiful artwork, I feel like they really could have just thrown in at least like one more variation on her voice to give it a little bit extra. And it just was just the same two sounds back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And minor complaint, doesn't break the game, but I think it would have made a difference.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I agree that there are some games like this, especially Gris, that are kind of hard to understand, like in terms of the story and what the message is. I think it helped, or what was helpful for me is I knew going into the game like a little bit about the game. Like I knew that it was about loss and like almost like depression. And, going through that with like my father and everything, I think it was a little bit easier for me to understand like some of the trauma, I guess, that she's going through. Like when you mentioned that she has a hard time walking, she loses her voice. Like when you go through some pretty dark times, it's very immobilizing. And I think, if you really read into what they've displayed in the game in terms of like her movement, her lack of voice, and like how you're navigating kind of an intricate world that's often dark and tranquil, and you're constantly being reminded too that your mom is not there, and she's constantly breaking, as like you jump on her hand or whatever, like you can see like the statue of her starts to slip away. And
right,
I think it's your way as the character to deal with the fact that like that pain is going to be there for a while, and you have to keep facing it, because if you think about it, when you're playing the game, she keeps encountering a statue of her mom or some vision or some instance of her mom at some point. And I think it's a reminder of the struggles that you go through. I mean, that's just my take. Other people are going to have their own unique take on it. It's kind of like Journey in a way.
Yeah. And I think that's a pretty good way of looking at it. I can listen to what you're suggesting and agree with it. A lot of that makes sense to me. And if your review and your assessment of it was the only one that I've read, I'd be like, yep, that's it. Spot on. Let's go. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I will say, as just a sidebar, I'm kind of getting sick of games dealing with loss.
Yeah, it's a lot of that going on.
There is, and I just read an article about another game that's coming out that's dealing with loss, and like it stopped me in my tracks for a second. I'm like, all right, I understand that death is a major part of life, but I'm kind of playing video games to escape from that, not to deal with it. But that's a whole nother thing. I'm getting off target here, so.
Well, not really. I mean, I think it definitely plays into the fact that this game is not exactly a fun-filled game at all times. Like, there's definitely some moments that you're like, wow, this is like kind of cheery,
And the other thing with this too is kind of tied in with this whole loss thing is this game doesn't really challenge you. There's no failure.
Nope. Not at all.
Your character does not die. It cannot die. There's no game over. If you miss a jump, you land on your feet, you go back up, you do it again. Yeah. And you probably do it again on the second try. It's not a challenging game. There's a boss that follows you around in the game. And eventually, like, it starts out as like a flock of birds and eventually becomes like this gigantic single bird entity. And and it does nothing to you. It doesn't even challenge you. Like, it screeches at you, the wind from its mouth, its mighty roar knocks you over, and that's great. But you don't die, nothing happens, you just figure out how to get around it and you move on. And how can you have a game be about loss if you cannot fail?
Yeah, I see your point. However, with that particular sequence where you do have that, it was the bird that is like screeching at you and shit.
Yeah.
You have to. If I remember correctly, like a lot of it was timing. Like you had to time like your run or whatever with like the squawking and stuff. And I think that there's definitely an element where like you can't die, and that's. I don't know, like, if they did that for any particular reason, but I don't know, man. It's a really hard game to decipher. I think that the both of us certainly had a hard time reviewing it because it's such a experience that you kind of just sort of deal with.
Yeah, and that's it's not a game. It's an experience. It's like looking at a painting versus listening to an album.
Yes. It's very imaginative, like the way that the game is just kind of structured. And when you beat it, you kind of just, you probably have one of two takeaways. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be like, having like 8 different fucking opinions on it. I think it's just going to be like, either I kind of liked it or I kind of loved it, or it's like, like I just didn't really know how I felt about it. And it's just because it's so vague.
I liked the game, and I think at some point I want to try to circle back to get the rest of the items that I missed, and that's another topic I want to get on. But I don't know, like if I felt like it was missing something, and I think what it boils down to is the fact that it's really not a game; it's just an experience, and that's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think I'm just trying to let our listeners know what they're getting into, because I think it's worth the $10 I spent. I don't know that I would feel comfortable spending more than that. And I'm glad that I bought it. I'm glad that I experienced it. But if you're going into this thing looking for some sort of a platformer like Celeste or something else, which is also a game that deals with some pretty heavy subject matter, Celeste is way more of a game than Gris is.
Oh, yeah. Celeste is an actual game.
Right.
I think the takeaway here overall is folks need to be aware that a lot of these really special experiences that these indie games are introducing, they're so artsy and they're so unique and vague that you have to be like prepared for that, because a lot of times like you could buy a game like, look, The Stillness of the Wind kind of disappointed me, and that's saying a lot because I like that kind of shit.
Yeah,
the weirder that it is and the more artsy that it is and vague, I'm all about that because I'm a little bit more I don't know, a little bit more experienced with some of those titles. So with Gris, just be aware, if you're thinking about playing this game and you like art and you like experiences, you're gonna love it. But if you're looking for a game that's like very gamey, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
I think I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, I probably should have prepared you a little bit more, because I can tell that your preference with games is to have the game a little bit more gamey, which I think makes total sense. Like, you like a game that has more substance, more of a actual, like, okay, here's how you do this, and this is how this is going to go. And with Gris, there's like no hand holding, and it's not even really so much hand holding. It's just there's no sense of
accomplishment.
No, there's no sense of accomplishment. There's really no sense of direction. You're just unfolding something very special, and you have to be comfortable with turning those pages. And I think that's really what Gris challenges a lot of gamers to do.
Yeah. There are a couple other things that I want to touch on real quick before we move on. But there's throughout the game, there's a couple points where like it looks like there's 2 paths that you could travel, and I'm the kind of gamer that likes to go in one direction, see what I can find, and then spin around and go the opposite direction looking for goodies, right? And I know that there was some things in this game that I missed, some hidden items. The problem that I kept running into is every time I started going in what I thought was the right direction to go to the next part of the level, I would turn around and go the opposite direction, thinking that that's where the hidden item was. And then the next thing I know, I'm actually pursuing the next part of the stage, and I'm locked out of going back to get to the hidden item that I forwent,
I gotcha.
just prior. And I found that a little bit frustrating because, if you're trying to play this game as a completionist, it's going to be very difficult unless you like learn the game, because once you go in the wrong direction, if it's actually the right direction, there's no way to turn around.
I think I remember that. I think I remember something along the lines of that happening to me as well, where I tried to go back and I couldn't, and I think it was literally like you just couldn't go back. Like it was like a wall. Like it was like the way games used to be, like way back when, like on SNES. Like if you went too far, like you just can't go back. Yeah. It was like that kind of effect, which is like really kind of hard to come by now, because I think a lot of games just aren't designed that way. But those kind of situations can often be somewhat game breaking for some people, because if you really are trying to leave no stone unturned, you can't always accomplish that.
It seems like the game does unlock like a new game plus kind of variation though, where you can just go in and select a specific level. So I might spend a little bit of time messing around with that and seeing how that plays out, because I'd like to collect all the other stuff, but it's not going to be a priority,
Yeah.
But as far as like final notes go, like beautiful game. I really enjoyed the watercolor look. I don't know if it was all hand drawn or not, but it sure had that look to it. Very well animated. The cutscenes, I didn't feel like they took me out of the world too much. Music was beautiful, although I would have liked a little bit more variation to it. But it's a short game, so I can let that slide. I like the idea of unlocking these colors and unlocking the worlds as you go, and like kind of bringing the world to life, in some cases quite literally, as you're going through the game, especially once you unlock your voice and the ability to sing. I thought that the world itself was this like weird cross between like an alien world and an ancient world, and it was just very fascinating to be in, and that's a place that I kind of want to explore more. And I feel like if they kind of loosened up on the rigidity of the path that you're taking, I think it would have given you more opportunities to explore. And even if they didn't let you go too far, just to give you an opportunity to kind of see what's over here, what's over there, look around a little bit, I think that would have been really cool. But, I to kind of wrap it up into like a final review, I guess, unless you had anything that you wanted to ask or add on. I recommend playing it, but just know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I think that again, it's I hate to kind of make this game exclusive to people that have dealt with loss, but I can't help it, because I feel like if you have, it makes things a little bit easier. But at the same time, I think it's all about how you deal with loss, because some people don't deal with loss in a way that you can relate to this game. I personally did, because there are aspects where the takeaway that I had, like when you're able to kind of turn into like a weird square, and like keep doing that so you can like break through like a certain part of the wall or the floor. I thought, like, call me crazy and call me maybe reading into it too much, but when I looked at that aspect, I thought, this is her way of saying, I can do this, I can get through this, I can be strong, and I can break through this because I have to and I need to. And her turning into that block was showing that she was regaining strength from the loss and realizing that she has to become something more. And that, again, could be my own interpretation, or it could be how the game devs designed it. And they want you to interpret it that way, and they hope that you see it that way. But I'm an extremely deep thinker, and I often will over analyze things and really speculate stuff. So that's probably why a lot of these games are more appealing to me, because of the nature of my way of thinking.
Right. Fair enough. So,
but you'll like you'll like Bastion more, because Bastion is like, it's way more of a game, and the way that the story is told in that is just quite brilliant.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to playing that.
Yeah, I think you're really, really going to enjoy that. And I've said that before about games that you haven't enjoyed that much, but Bastion, I'm really confident about this one.
Well, I mean, it's okay, if I don't get the same thing out of a game that you do, because there's going to be games that I get more out of that you don't. It's just how the world is. You can have two people listen to the same album and they get completely different things from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how art is, and that's okay.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it. So yeah, I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I own it. Glad I experienced it.
Good.
I don't have any regrets, but at the same time, I do wish it was a little bit more.
That's fair.
So.
Well, luckily you got it at a good price. I think it would have hurt a little bit more if it was $20, because I'm pretty sure I paid $20 for it. Yeah. But I bought it like pretty much after release, I believe.
Right now, if I'm not mistaken, the standard price of the game is $14.99 on the eShop. I don't know if that's a discount from when it originally came out or what the case is, but I'm pretty sure the price they had it listed at as the standard price when I bought it. And I'm trying to see if I could bring up. I don't know if it's going to let me look at the previous price. Let's see. Show me what you got.
I will say to folks listening too, if you like watercolors and watercolor paintings, then Gris is you're really going to appreciate the art style.
Yeah, the art is just absolutely tremendous in this game, and the watercolor of it is wonderful.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, like a lot of the sequences of like fluid animation when you're not like the cutscenes, it kind of reminds you of like a flip book, but like a watercolor flip book. Like the way that like Gris is animated and the movement, it's almost like slowly, or it's like intentionally slow, but like it's got that flip book quality where it looks kind of like not fully polished.
The thing that I kind of compared it to was there was these sequences where, the colors would start to splash in, and it reminded me of like when I was a kid, I would take watercolors and I would put the brush on the paper without actually making a brush stroke, and the color just kind of bleeds into the paper.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of that feeling from the game.
Yes. Yeah.
So check it out. I think it's worth at least a look.
Yeah, if there's a demo, try the demo. If there isn't, I highly recommend just watching like a quick review. That should be enough to kind of give you a quick taste without spoiling anything.
Or listen to me.
Or listen to Drew. Listen to Drew, yep. Yeah, that's fair.
I think if I had to give it a number, I think like a 7 is probably, on a scale from 1 to 10, I feel like a 7. Okay. 6.5 to 7, somewhere in there, depending on how I'm feeling that day.
Yeah, that's a pretty high score, and I think it's quite normal, I think, for that particular game. That game, I don't think anybody's going to give it a 10 unless you just were in love with it.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, I think that brings us to the end of our episode. Did you have any other topics that you want to hit on before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. One thing for folks to remember, kind of a random fact, but it was just kind of on the brain. If you have a PlayStation 3, don't forget that you can play PlayStation 1 games on your PlayStation 3. The only reason I say that is because we did mention Final Fantasy Tactics and some PS1 games. A lot of people don't realize that the PS3 is capable of playing a physical PlayStation 1 disc. And it has a built-in memory as well. So if you do happen to have Tactics and you want to fire it up again, and you feel like you can't because you don't have a PS1, you can. You just need a PS3.
And no modding required. It's standard with the system.
Yeah, kind of a unique thing that they kept that, but they got rid of the PS2 feature.
Yeah, well, fuck them. I love Sony, but I despise them at the same time.
I know.
Does that make sense?
It's a love-hate relationship. I think everybody's in that boat, and don't even get Vic started on Sony.
Oh, God. I'm going to try to get back around to playing some of my PlayStation games. I would really like to finish up Spider-Man. So I don't know if I'm going to start that this week, but definitely I think once my normal work shift starts, I'll probably get around to doing that. Because I really want to play Nier Automata. I really want to play, what the hell is it? God of War.
Yeah.
And, Black Friday is coming up pretty soon, and I'm just going to have this influx of games that are going to be like half price that I'm going to want to buy again.
Well, like I said before, like Damien doesn't help either because he just crushes games, and he has like pretty great like reviews, and like he creates a lot of hype around games. So sometimes, like, say for example, he just finished Nier. I think it's really kind of perked our interest into getting into that game because it's just constant battle, man, of like, man, I want to play this, I want to play that, I want to play this, I want to play that, and sometimes you just got to fire everything up.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
It's got to do it all.
Well, and then we have this whole like thing about, it kind of circles back to that whole patient gamer thing that we were just talking about how Vic has all this focus that you don't. So
yeah, he's incredible.
Anyway, folks, thank you so much for downloading the show. We hope you enjoyed. Please take a moment to support us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow us at WDGRPodcast. And we'd love to see you in our Discord room too, so stop on by there. Will, if somebody would like to follow you, how can they do so?
Will_gear.
You can follow me at ScienceStorm. And yeah, that's about it. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See ya.